Today we're going to learn about self-image. That is the topic of discussion. And it's a power topic because, I don't know about you, but every day I got to look in the mirror when I wake up in the morning. And what am I looking at exactly? Who am I? How do I feel about myself? How do you feel about yourself? You don't have to answer. How do you feel about yourself? And what does Judaism have to say about that? What does Torah Judaism have to say about self-esteem? Have to say about self-image? So, the place we're going to begin today is a segment in the Talmud. Right? A little taste of Talmud here. Okay? A little taste of Talmud. You can pass these back. The section that we're going to be looking at is a section in a Mishnah in Masechah Sanhedrin. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 37a. This is a primary text. Okay, before we open the Bibles here, a primary text of the Talmud. It's called the Mishnah, and there the Gemara deals with, the Mishnah deals with, why is it that God created man as an individual? Why is it that God created man alone? Now, before we look inside, let's just think for a second, okay? Let's just think about the big world. You read Genesis chapter 1. God creates a world, and what did it look like? He created, he created trees. Well, how many trees did he create? He created I don't know, how many do you think? The Torah doesn't tell us explicitly. How many do you think he created? 2 trees? Is this like a Dr. Seuss book? This big tree? That was it? God created a tree, right? Is that what happened? God created millions of trees. He creates a whole world full of trees. You got to order a lot of trees, and if you fill the whole world with trees, that's a lot of trees. Okay, how many rivers? How many lakes? How many lakes did God create when he created lakes? I don't know the answer, but I know this, right? It wasn't 1 lake or 2 lakes. Look, Minnesota alone has 10,000 lakes. There's a whole world of lakes. He created, hundreds of thousands of lakes, fair to say. And how many butterflies, and how many chimpanzees, and chihuahuas, and orangutans, and how many bunny rabbits. God created he creates a whole world. And everything that he creates in bulk. In bulk. You know why? Because God's Jewish. Wholesale, my man. Got to think big. Business. That was a joke. Okay, God creates a whole world of, right, this is a great one. He created elephants. Okay, so on the day he created elephants, exactly how many elephants did he create? It was like Mr. and Mrs. Elephant. Welcome. There's a whole, you got to fill the African, the whole African continent with elephants, and Asia, and you get it? God created everything in bulk. Big bulk. And we can go on and on and on, right? Mosquitoes. You get it? Snakes. Stars. You in the back. How many stars are there? Just take a guess. Don't worry, I don't know either. Hundreds of billions, hundreds and hundreds of billions of stars. That's a heck of a lot of stars. Why so many stars? God wants a lot of it. He wants a big world full of stuff. That's it. We're going big, man. We're going large. That's it. Continents, planets, oceans, fish. How many fish did God create? On day 5 of the creation, he created fish and birds. Millions of it. Millions of birds. You get it? Everything God created in bulk. But there's one creature. There was one creation. Entirely different model of production. An entirely different, totally different, unique. One creature, one product that's manufactured by God in the creation story. And that is the Homo sapien, the human being. God creates, open the Bible, chapter 1. God creates a human by himself. One singular being. That's it. Just one being. Now, I mean, anybody reading the story has to wonder, like, just look at this carefully. That's kind of curious. Why would God do that? Now, you might tell me, oh, I know why. Population control. You know, we have to worry about, right, lots of people. Well, not so, because look at that, as we once spoke about, look at the first thing that God tells Adam and Eve. The first thing that God tells Adam. What's the first thing? Very first words ever. Fill up the world with people. Literally. Quote the Hebrew, pru revu umilu et arz. Translation, fill up the world with human beings. God wants a lot of human beings. Well, it's right in line. I mean, it's parallel to everything else. Right? Lots of fish, lots of birds, lots of, you know what I'm saying? You get it? Like lots of everything. Well, he wants lots of people also. So God actually wants lots of people. He wants a world full of lots of people. Well, if that's true, our question is even more difficult. Okay, so then why did God create man alone? I mean, it actually, in a certain sense, well, if you can pardon the expression, it hurts God's interest, you know, right? It damages God's plan. It's self-sabotaging. God wants a world full of people, and yet he created man alone. Just by, what do you call it, like special edition, you know? Yeah, special edition, like a one-time edition. That's it, one guy, that's it. That's it, just one. How do you understand this? So it's the Gemara here that's in front of you that analyzes and deals with this question. Okay? And I want to look through it quickly, and I want to focus really on a specific point. Okay, but because it's open in front of us, let's dive in and see what we can see. I'm sure you'll have questions. I'm sure I won't be able to take them. And let's, there's another one. There's plenty. Here's another one. And let's get to the bottom line, which actually in this case, in this printing, is actually the bottom line. Okay, so the bottom line is the bottom line. So what's my goal right now? The bottom line. So don't try to hold me up too much, even though there's plenty of things to ask. Okay, the Mishnah presents, well, first of all, in order to teach that the value of one human life, the value of one life is so extreme. It's so powerful that the whole world, the whole world, the entire universe is created for one life. One life. And it says, and I'm paraphrasing, it's in front of you, that means if you even save one life. Here's a famous line from the Talmud, you might have heard this. Here it is, you're actually seeing it in the source. If you save one life, it's as if you saved the entire world. And the entire world. One life, the entire world. And if God forbid, you snuff out one life, you destroy one life, it's as if you destroyed an entire world. Wow. Proof, here it is. God created a whole world for one person, right? Okay. Presentation number one. Presentation number two. In order to keep the peace, God wants a world where us humans get along. And he knows that there's always going to be competition, right? I mean, it starts already in kindergarten. My daddy is stronger than your daddy. Oh, yeah? Well, my daddy has bigger muscles than your daddy. You know what? My daddy, he's in charge of this whole school. Oh, yeah? My daddy's in charge of this whole neighborhood. Yeah, that's it, all right? Well, guess what? If actually my daddy had a rivalry with your daddy, it wouldn't be so, it can get ugly. Well, here's the news. The news that all humanity forever and ever is, we all come from one daddy. His name, Adam. And in order to, such a valuable lesson, in order to try to sidestep, to try to prevent and circumvent tension between people, fighting between people, arguments between people, rivalry between people, humans, war, in order to prevent wars in the world, God created, try to keep it simple. Just one human being. And we're all one family. We're just one big family. We're all related. We all come from one grandpa. Hopefully, you would think, right? God's pretty smart. You would think like, so we're all one family. Right? Okay, so now we're going to get along. Look, you have to analyze this again. In today's world, did this work? I don't know. There's tons of fights, hatred. But you know what? God's still smart. I guess it would have been much worse, right? Imagine that's with being family. We're fighting like this, right? There's wars all over the world. Every generation there's tons of. Okay, but you know what? And that's with family. If we weren't family, that'd be even worse, right? So good. Explanation number 2. Explanation number 3. Says the Mishnah, so that people would not be able to suggest or to claim that there's more than one God. You see, the pinnacle of the creatures of this planet is the human being. And those who might want to claim, certainly as was very common in the times in biblical times, that there's many gods, polytheism, right? There's paganism is your God, my God, this God. This. Well, you might be able to blunder, right, by falling into this mistake. Like, look at that. There was 5 people who were created, and it must be like each one has their own, each one has their own manufacturer. Look at that, 5 people were created. You got to start somewhere, right? There must be 5 gods. Heaven forbid. God doesn't want to allow for any mistakes. He creates only one person. Everyone comes from that one person. So everyone knows that no one would make a mistake. There's more than one God. Okay, and then the Talmud says, interestingly, this also presents and broadcasts the greatness of God because, as the Talmud says here, the Mishnah says, we all are minted. It's an interesting expression. All human beings, so to speak, are minted from the same coin. In other words, conceptually, there was one human being and he gave birth to everyone. So basically, we all come from that. If we all come from Adam, don't you think we should all look the same? Right? Now, you would have suggested that they look the same. However, as the Mishnah says, all men, from the times of Adam until today, every person looks different. Not one of them not one person that's ever lived is exactly identical to anybody else. Not one. What does that display and show? The greatness, the infinite skill and greatness of God, right? That everyone, there's so many people who should be the same, and everyone looks different. And this speaks to the glory and the greatness of God. Okay, all this is interesting. Now, we get to the bottom line. And this is the bottom line. Gents, this is not just the bottom line for this class, but you know what? I dare suggest with, as much humility as I can muster. I dare say that this is the bottom line of your whole life. Here it is. And if you're writing notes, write this down. The bottom line here is, the Gemara says, I'll say it in Hebrew and then we'll translate. Lefichach. We're on Sanhedrin 37a, the bottom line. Lefichach. Kol echad ve'echad chayav lomar b'shvili nivra ha'olam. Therefore, says the Mishnah, what is the upshot? What is the takeaway? What do you learn from everything, this discussion? What do we need to know? Lefichach, what do you walk away with that you have to actually do? How does this impact your life? Is this just philosophical? No such thing in Judaism. Judaism is not just, it's not about philosophy, it's about values, it's about real living, it's about real life decision. Says the Mishnah, Lafichach, therefore, Kol echad ve'echad, every single human being, Chayav lomar, is obligated to say, quote, the three magic words, Bishvili nivra ha'olam. Every human being is obligated to say, Bishvili nivra ha'olam. The world was created for me. For me. This whole world was created just for me. That is an obligation in Judaism. You want to be Jewish? You want to follow the ways of the Torah? You are obligated. All people are obligated to say and to think and to know and to believe that this entire planet, this entire universe was created just for them. You'll say, where'd you get that from? How is that the outcome? I'll show you what the Mishnah is showing us. I'll show you what the Mishnah is telling you. I'll tell you what I'm telling you, boys. I'll tell you. God indeed, this is not theoretical or philosophical. God actually, factually created an entire universe for one man, for one human being. It's actually true. True story. It's not some concept. It's true. It's a true story. God created the entire universe. I mean, do we need to go through it again? How many cubic, what's the metric, cubic gallons of water are in this planet? I mean, are in this universe? Yeah. And how many stars? You get it? And how much? Go through all the lists, and there's trillions and millions and billions of things that we can focus and look at. How much exactly did God put into this world? All of that, he actually created for one human being. Why? Well, simple. Because one human being, one person deserves a universe that is that vast, that is that massive, that is that beautiful. Yeah, but how many lakes can I swim in? So what? So what? God says, I'm in charge around here. I'm in charge. Yeah. How many lions can I ride on? I don't care. You're going to, millions, I would say, millions, and beautiful birds, and beautiful fruits, and incredible landscapes, and unbelievable mountains, and not just one. I don't care. But I don't care how many. I don't care. All different types and different places and different temperatures. That's right. And all the things that this world comes with. Just for you. Just for one person. It's not accidental. It's not accidental. It's by design. It's actually by design. And why did God do that? The Mishnah is whispering into our ears the words that are just so, it's a mega teaching. It's a word which, it's a lesson which is, it's foundational, it's fundamental to our entire existence, our entire self-perception. You therefore are obligated to see yourself as worthy of the entire universe being created just for you. Proof? What do you mean? Proof is right here in front of us. God actually creates an entire universe for one person. Now, the world happens. It's not like you'll say, okay, so God should destroy the world and then create it again for you, and destroy the world again, kill everyone. It's not a different, alternative universe just for you. God doesn't do that. I mean, God could have done it. He doesn't want to do that. He wants a world that's going to be a world. But he created that world in that way, the original model, for the sole purpose of mankind forever and ever absorbing the lesson and the message that they are valuable. You have the ultimate value. You are that significant. You are of extreme importance. Individually, just you alone. And if he needed to, God would create the world just for you. Every man and every woman that ever was and ever is and ever will be is that valuable. And if you don't look in the mirror and see yourself as valuable, guess what? You ready for this? You ready for this statement? It's a big statement. You're spitting in God's face. You're sinning against God. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because God did something he didn't want to do. He wants a world full of people. That's his whole plan. That's all he wants. Just like he wants a world full of fish and full of birds and full of everything else he did. He wants a world that's big and filled up with massive numbers of everything. And as I showed you, as I proved to you, God wants a world full of people also. But you know what? He did something that was, so to speak, bad for him. Bad for him. God did something that was bad for him. Only for one reason. For one reason. So that you, and 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 you, for you, every single person would learn the lesson and absorb the message that they're important. And could you imagine how painful it is, so to speak, for God? It's like, it stings like, dang, like, what a mess, look what I did, I ruined everything, my whole plan, everything got messed up. I was trying to teach them, and they didn't learn the lesson. In fact, they wake up in the morning, they look in the mirror like, man, I suck. Oh man, I'm disgusting. I hate myself. I can't stand myself. I'm worthless. I'm a piece of garbage. And he falls into depression. No value. I should, God forbid, God can't say the words, I should kill myself. The world is better without me. My life sucks. You know what kind of affront? You know what kind of, so to speak, damage that you're doing to God? To use a Jewish expression, what a chutzpah. What a chutzpah. And you know what? It's a sin. It's actually a sin. And I can prove it to you. It's a sin to see yourself as negative. To have a negative self-image, to have negative self-perception is a sin. I can prove it to you. I can prove it to you from the Bible. I can prove it to you from the Talmud. It's a sin. Now that's something that sounds even more extreme. Like we're not used to that. Like, hey man, I go to my therapist. I like, okay, go see your therapist. But right now I'm not speaking like a therapist. I'm just speaking like a rabbi. I need to deliver the truth. You deserve to know the truth. The truth is that in God's book, in Judaism, if you see yourself as negative, and you step into that narrative, you accept that concept, you're actually committing it's a very significant sin. And again, I can prove it. I don't know if time doesn't really allow me to prove it right now. But I'll just parenthetically, I'll make a reference. If you look at the book of Samuel, chapter 15, Shmuel Aleph, okay, chapter 15, you see that the great, big, superstar king of Israel, right, named King Shaul, gets fired. We mentioned it recently. He gets fired. He gets thrown out of his job. And what's the reason? Shmuel tells him. Shmuel tells Shaul. He comes to him with the message, and he says, listen, halon katanata be'enecha, rosh shifti Yisrael ata. Get out of here. Translation, you're the king of Israel, man. You're the king of it. You're the most important Jew in the whole world. And guess what? Katanata be'enecha. In your own eyes, you were small. Those are his words. In your own eye, you saw yourself as small. You saw yourself as small? You're a sinner. You sinned against God. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're fired. And he punishes him. And that's the end of his career. It's the end of everything for him. Wow. What was his sin? His sin, King Shaul's sin, King Saul's sin was he had the sin of low self-esteem. Can you believe that? And he's punished. Punished? I have nothing, it's not my fault. Oh yeah? Here comes a Jewish concept. Here comes a Jewish concept. Who gives you the right to see yourself as small? No, but that's what, my inner heart tells me. Oh really? And your inner heart tells you to steal your neighbor's stuff. Your inner heart tells you to flirt with your neighbor's wife. Your inner heart tells you to look at things you shouldn't look at. The inner heart tells you to get angry and scream at the people you love. Your inner heart tells you lots of things. Well, take control of your life. Don't just follow every bloody impulse that, I want to do this, I want to eat this. What, so you're going to eat like 50 pieces of cake? But I couldn't help it. Well, start helping it, dude. Start helping it. You have to be a big boy, and you can't do things like that. It's against God's will. It's damaging to yourself. It's damaging to society. Well, guess what? Here comes another thing. Here it is in the Torah. But they didn't teach me this in school. Well, you're learning it here in Judaism. You came to yeshiva? Here it is. You're learning this at Esha Torah, okay? You want to learn about Judaism? Here's what we're learning about Judaism. The most important beginning of a life of Judaism is you have to walk around experiencing the world with a very healthy self-image. How healthy? Oh, very healthy. So healthy that you're like, wow, I'm really important. God loves me. I'm valuable. I have inherent value. I'm so valuable. If there was no one on this whole world, God would create the world just for me. Here, you want to say this a different way? You want to tell you? I'll help you. Okay? Be my friend. How much gold? Let's say that he took all the gold and, out of Australia, the African mines, everywhere, California, they had all the gold together, all right? Collected from all over the world. How much is it worth? Put a price tag on that. How much is it? How much is it? Come on. It's got to be much more than $1 trillion, right? I don't know. There's no way to measure, right? Hundreds of trillions. Okay, good, very good. And all the silver? In all the silver. It's in the entire universe. Somehow you can collect it. Put a price on it. How much is it? I want to buy all the silver on planet Earth. How much is that? I don't know. It's a heck of a lot of silver. A lot of money, right? You agree? Okay, here, answer this question. How many, I don't know how to even quantify this. How many pounds of diamonds are there in the entire world, all over the world, everywhere? You go to all the diamond mines everywhere. You collect all of it. Okay, how much is it all worth? I want to buy all the diamonds in the world. How much is it worth, right? I don't know, trillions of trillions of dollars. Okay, good. And all the oil, and all the platinum. Do you see it? Okay, I want to buy I want to buy Europe. I want to buy the whole planet. Here, how much is the whole continent? Yeah, I'll pay the whole thing. How much is it worth? I don't know. Is it for sale? It's not for sale. How much is the Pacific Ocean worth? Right? You see what I'm saying? This whole freaking universe here, planet after planet, star after star, everything, the whole kitty caboodle here, the whole lot, everything. I'll pile the whole thing up. I got a serious, American Express card. Yeah, the whole thing. I want to pay the whole. How much is it? How much is it? Was it Googleplex? Google. You understand? Trillions, hundreds of billions and trillions of Google, whatever. There's no number, right? Guess what? You, little you. You're worth more than that. That's what the mission is telling us. Is that how you see yourself? You ought to. You're actually obligated to. Do you know that self-esteem in Judaism, it's not like extra? It's not like, it's optional. If I'm lucky, I happen to wake up, I'm having a good hair day. Bad example. If you happen to have, I like the way I look today. Ooh, okay, therefore today, I guess, I'm feeling good. Yeah, good. I had a good coffee. Yeah, I like myself. It doesn't work that way. It's not like, oh, it's a nice thing if you can. It's optional. It would be a good idea, Look what the Mishnah says. It's right in front of you. It's right in front of us for you to see. Look, I showed it to you. Today I showed it to you. I brought you the text. Look at the bottom line. It says there, Lefichach kol echad ve'echad chayav lomar. How long have you been in Eish Torah? A week. Nice. Do you know what the word chayav means? Hint, it's right in front of you in the English translation. What does chayav mean? Chayav means obligated. Here it is in the Mishnah, black and white, right in front of you. We are obligated. It's mandatory. It's compulsory. This is not like some extra luxury. You're obligated to see yourself as important. Could you imagine? It sounds so funny to our, American mind. Can you imagine here what's the Talmud say? Here, you go up to heaven and they say, oh, did you have self-esteem? I didn't have self-esteem. Oh, go to hell. It sounds so cruel, right? Like, what do you mean? It's not in my power. Yes, it is. Okay, maybe not entirely good. So go see a therapist. Great. Do that. Do that too. Right? But the Torah tells us here, Judaism tells us, loud and clear, you are obligated to see ourselves as valuable. Not how valuable. Oh, extremely, very valuable. The ultimate in value. You're important. And you know what? You want to know something? Just let's notice this as, just as a sociologist. You study behavior and study human behavior and interaction. When a person sees themselves as dignified, when a person experiences themselves as important, that itself has an impact. It has an impact on my own happiness. It has an impact on my own behaviors. Just the way if you're the king, if you're the president of the United States, you wouldn't do things that, I don't want to even give examples here. You wouldn't do things that are just despicable, disgraceful, disgusting, self-humiliating. You see what I'm saying? You wouldn't do things that are kind of embarrassing, but we do them anyway because who are we anyway? Who are you? Who are you? You're actually the most important person. And you're going to say to me, what's driving this? Why is this true? The Mishnah, okay, so the Mishnah said, where did the Mishnah know this from? Where do you, I guess we know it from, because the Torah presents it that way, but what's the inner engine that's driving this idea? Why is a human being so much greater than all other beings? The answer is right there, back in that story, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, 27, 28. Because God created man in his image. When God created you and I, we're the only beings. There's a little bit of God and godliness inside of you. There's actually a piece of God, whatever that means. I can't explain. I don't pass my pay grade. I don't understand exactly what I'm saying right now. I don't understand what I'm saying right now, which is common. It happens to me a lot, right? Also happens to a lot of my students. They also don't understand what half the things I'm saying. That was a joke. Okay? So, I don't know what it means, but inside of every human being is a little bit of godliness. How could that be? Simple. God is infinite. That's what we're learning here at HTR. God is infinite. Well, if God is infinite, guess what? There's infinite parts and pieces, so to speak, of himself. And this is not my own idea. It's what we learn from the original texts and the rabbis who teach, and the Zohar and the Talmud who teach us that there's a soul, and the Torah itself in Genesis chapter 1, chapter 1, and also in chapter 2. Remember the story in chapter 2? Where there's a little bit more of a description about how God created man? Who remembers? You can look at it inside. Chapter 2, you find it there. Right? God creates man. How does he create him? First, he makes him out of dirt, right? He's like you go to the beach, you build like a in the form of a something, right? So God creates man out of dirt, but it's just dirt. There's no life to him. And then what does God do? Look it up in the Bible. Look at it, chapter 2. You know what God does? I'll tell you what he does. He says, I'll say it in my own way. He's like, he's not breathing. Quick, call 911. Call 911. Okay. CPR. Okay, breathe in. Okay, and then God, he breathes into man. That's what it says in the Bible. He breathed into man. That's what he did. Vayipach be'apav nishmas chaim. You know what that means? Vayipach, translation. I should show it to you because you look at me like, really? Vayipach be'apav nishmas chaim. God breathed into man the breath of life. That's what he did. Now, when you breathe, you ever do CPR? You should never need to. Well, if you do breathe CPR, you breathe into that person. Whose oxygen is that person breathing right now? Yours, right? I think the EMTs even use the expression "breathe for him." Breathe for him. In other words, right? You blow oxygen into his. Okay, good. Well, if God breathes into our bodies, okay, then what? Here it is, chapter 2, verse 7. It's on page 11. Okay, you can open it and look at it inside. God formed man from the dust of the ground, and then he blew into his nostrils the soul, the breath of life, the soul of life, and man became a living being. In other words, the living being, the human soul is a little bit of godliness. That's why we are. Again, it sounds a little bit strange, or it almost even sounds like blasphemous. We are like, it sounds weird to say, like little children of God, little gods, little mini godly, not gods, but like godly creations. We have a little bit of godliness in us. And that's why God says in the Torah, again and again and again and again, especially in the book of Deuteronomy, in the 5th book of the Torah, a mitzvah, it's actually one of the 613 mitzvahs, which is actually one of my favorite mitzvahs. One of my favorites. You see, you're getting to know me. One of my favorite mitzvahs is where God says, I want you to be like me. Be like me. I know you say, I want to be like Mike. No. Not in Judaism. I want to be like God. I want to be like God. It's actually a mitzvah in the Torah to be like God. Did you know that? It's a mitzvah in the Torah to be like God. In other words, since we are, again, it's a little bit strange to say it this way, but like some type of children of God in some way, we have a godly soul, right? And God expresses openly in the Torah, Banim atem l'Hashem Elokechem. Translation, God in the Torah says, He says to us, you are my children. You are my children, right? You are my children. God says famously to Pharaoh, right? Beni b'chori Yisrael, right? This is my boy. He is my son. If you're a human being, you have a little bit of godliness in you. So in other words, like when someone has a baby, and like the big fight in the family is like, who does he look like? Does it look like does it look like the mom or the dad? The mom, the dad, the mom, the dad. Both sides of the family are fighting. It looks like her. It looks like him. Guess what? Us Jews, we have a different concept. It actually looks like God. Automatically, there's a part of you that has a little bit of you have a divine image. There's something about you which is godly. Inborn, you don't have to do anything, right? I bet you look like your dad. I bet people have told you look like your dad. Am I wrong? People have told you that, right? You look like your dad, and guess what? You probably do look like your dad. Well, guess what? You look like your other dad as well. You look like God as well. And you want to know something? That's without doing anything. Just naturally you look like it. But that's just nature. You know what God says? One of my favorite mitzvahs. Finish the job. Finish the job. In other words, I want you to actually work at it to look like me. Be like me. How do you say this in the old Latin? Imitatio Dei. Imitatio Dei. Translation? This. V'halachta b'drachav. Be like me. Be like God, right? Imitate Dei is the divine, right? Imitate God. A person should walk around imitating God. Okay, so what am I showing you, right? What am I showing you? That there's godliness within us. If there's godliness within us, well then, we have value. You can't do things that are like, you're a son of a king. You're a son of God, right? You can't walk around doing things which are disgusting and embarrassing and of such low self-worth. Do you know the Talmud says? The Gemara says in Shabbos, on page 50, that you're obligated, when you wake up every morning, you're obligated to wash your face. That's what it says in the Talmud. A person is obligated to wash their face every morning. Why? Wash your face? Yes, wash your face. You know why? Because you are created in the image of God. If you're created, you have to be presentable. You have to look decent. You have to look like an honorable person, right? A person's obligated to respect themselves. To respect themselves. You're obligated to respect yourself, to accept yourself, to honor yourself, to value yourself, to appreciate yourself. This is, like I said, an obligation. It's not extra. It's not a mitzvah. And there's no arguing. And we'll close with this thought. There's no arguing. You can't say, no, but Rabbi, I'm an exception. Oh, really? You're trying to tell me you're not created in the image of God? What are you, like a demon? Who exactly are you? You're a human being. You're trying to tell me that you don't have a God, you don't have a soul, you're not a human. Humans are humans. You're created in the image of God. Oh, no, but I have all kinds of flaws. Oh. So wait a second. Let me get this straight. God, who's perfect, created a human being. And God chose to create you. He didn't need to. Do you know that? Hey guys, you know that? You know that God didn't need to create you? He chose to create you. Well, I don't want to swear, but I could swear to you one thing. I don't want to swear, but I could if I would if I needed to. I could swear to you that if I could do what you could do, and you could do what I could do, I could swear God would not have created both of us. I could swear that's true. God doesn't make extras. There are no mistakes in the manufacturing line. He didn't need to create you. He didn't. If he created you, it's because you have a massive value. And you have a massive, entirely unique purpose, job, mission, work to do, and this contribution to make in this lifetime, in this planet. If I could do what you could do, and you could do what I could do, God wouldn't have created both of us. So you know what? Why don't we stop? First, many lessons to learn here. First of all, why don't you stop trying to be me? Why don't you stop trying to be that person who you think is so cool? Stop. Because that's so dumb. Because you could try a million lifetimes, you'll never be able to be them. Because only they are them. And don't waste your time trying to be someone else. Because if you do, you'll never be successful. And even worse, it means that you won't be you. And guess what? There ain't nobody else in the world who can be you. Nobody can be you because you are your own unique iteration of God's infinity. No one like you has ever lived and ever will live. Ever. And YOLO, my man. So make it work. Make it happen. And you cannot see yourself as worthless. That's part of the sin. That's part of the sin. We can't afford to live this way, right? So let's stop trying to be someone else, and let's try to just be yourself, right? As the expression is, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. Be yourself because everyone else is taken, my man. God created you and you have value. You can't say that you don't have value because God doesn't make mistakes. And He's God. I mean, do I need to say anything more? He's God. And if He created you, you have value. It's like, like you buy those cheap, stupid trinkets from on AliExpress, like they break, you walk in the store, by the time you walk out of the store, they're broken. It's like, we have a guarantee. Yeah. The warranty, how long is it? Until you walk out of the store. Like it's broke, right? That's not a human being. God doesn't create junk. He's God. He's God. God doesn't create junk. And you, little you, goes, oh, by the way, I'm a piece of junk. I'm worthless. I have no value. Oh, really? So it's and I should believe you? That's it. I should believe you? Let's think. It's your word versus the word of God. God, your word. God says you're the most important being on the planet. And you're like, I'm a piece of blankety blank. I should kill myself. I have no value. Really? I should believe you. Is that what you're saying? Oh, God made a mistake. He actually created junk, and God's just not aware of it. He didn't realize. You kidding me? You kidding? You expect me to believe that? You can tell me 1 trillion times that you have no value. You're not going to change my mind, man. You have deep, powerful, endless, inherent value, and it's not because you did something right, or because you have a great voice, or because you're very. I don't care what you do or what you don't do. Because you have a soul of God that God decided, of all people, of all creatures and creation, decided to put into you. You're important. We can't afford to miss this lesson. This is the bottom line of Judaism, the beginning of the beginning. It's the beginning and the end. Gents, good luck being you.